This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And happy Saturday morning to all my friends out there in the Yankees world and in the Northeast streaming sports world. The Yankees, well, they've been playing pretty good baseball over the last few weeks. Amazing. And we'll talk a little about that. We'll also talk about Old Timers Day. Today is Old Timers Day. And I just figured it might be fun if I shared my recollections about so many of the players who are going to be at Old Timers Day today. I want to make sure I mention the fact that there is no Old Timers game. I didn't put that in my notes. I'm just making that note right now. And I also want to note a list of the people who aren't there who should be, or who should be at least recognized in some way, shape, or form. A few weeks ago, I wrote an article on Start Spreading the News. It seems as though at the end of the season, the Yankees may be hiring an outside agency, a smart group of people, a think tank, to look at the Yankees and determine what went wrong. I've said on this show, and I've said on Start Spreading the News, that the Yankees should just hire us at Start Spreading the News. They should hire me. I can tell them what's wrong. I can tell them what went wrong. I can tell them the things that have been wrong for a long time. One of the things is the fans over these last many years have gotten the sense that the Yankees aren't really about the tradition, and they're not really designed with the fans in mind. Old Timers Day is a great day. It's one of the great Yankee traditions. But the Yankees seem to bungle it a lot. Yes, they're bringing back some great Yankees from the past, and that's great. But at the same time, there's going to be an empty feeling in a lot of our hearts because a lot of great Yankees aren't going to be there. Why? Why won't they be there? And that's a problem. It's a problem when there's a day that the franchise designs as a way for the fans to reconnect with the players of past years, the players of their youth, the superstars from when they were kids, the players they connected with, those special players that we make bonds with that last a lifetime. And then for whatever reason, they're not there. I've documented before that I think the Yankees do a terrible job with Monument Park. There are Yankees who belong out there, and yet somehow they're not. And there's Yankees that deserve being out there less than players who aren't there, but they're in. And there's no rhyme, nor reason, nor rationale. No one ever says why Roy White is out, but Paul O'Neill is in. Roy White meant more to the Yankees over his career than Paul O'Neill did. No one can explain why Hank Bauer's not there. No one has ever tried to explain why there were three big Yankee pitchers of the late 40s and 50s, early 50s at least, on those teams that won 5 straight World Series. Allie Reynolds, Vic Raschi, and Eddie Lopat, the big three. No one can explain why Allie Reynolds is there, but Vic Raschi and Eddie Lopat aren't. No one has ever tried to explain why Greg Nettles, who was a Yankee captain, probably the greatest third baseman in Yankees history, you may want to say A-Rod had better stats, But Nettles meant more to the team. A-Rod was never the captain. Why Greg Nettles isn't out there? How can Greg Nettles, the greatest Yankee third baseman, not be in Monument Park? And for that matter, how can A-Rod not be there? Except if you want to say because of steroids. It's arbitrary. It's capricious. And these are the things that bother fans. It bothers fans when they see things that the franchise does that just aren't right. It's just not fair. It's just not right. And when that happens, it makes the fans say, why are they making such bad decisions? But before we get into all of that, let me welcome you all again to the show. It is Saturday. It is September 9th. Let's make today a great day. How do you make each day great? Well, it's very simple. You look for the good because you can find good. There's good in so many places. But some people, as you know, I say this every week, some people say, I can't find any good. There's no good in the world. Everywhere I look is bad. I can't imagine that you're looking very hard if you're saying that. But if that's the case, okay. We all live our lives. We all have the things around us that influence and impact our decision making in our lives on a daily basis. But if there is no good, if you can't find any good, well, there is one way to make good. There is one way to make sure there is good in the world, in your life. And that's to make it by doing nice things. If you can't find the good, make the good. Walk around your neighborhood and pick up trash. All of a sudden, the neighborhood's a little cleaner. And you know you did something good. Call a friend, call a family member, write a letter, donate time or money to an organization. Do something good, and guess what? Then there's good in the world. And that will make your life that much happier. It is, I don't have the statistics, but I'm 99.999, if not 100% sure, that when we do nice things, it makes us as people feel better. So make some good. All right, so let's talk positively about the Yankees for a few moments. A couple of weeks ago, they brought up the kids. And all of a sudden, they've won a bunch of ball games. They keep winning games. They play hard. They're doing well. Everson Pereira looks like a pretty good major leaguer. I'm not sure he's going to hit. He hasn't really hit yet. But he seems to be holding his own in left field. Oswald Peraza, I don't know if he's a third baseman. I don't think he's going to hit enough. Third basemen have to hit for either a high average or for power, in my opinion. I'm not sure he's going to do that enough to stick as a third baseman, but he seems to be doing okay at third base. He's holding his own. His bat is slowly starting to come around. Austin Wells hasn't hit much yet, but again, there's time. He doesn't look overmatched. And Jason Dominguez just looks like the Martian. He looks like the player who is out of this world. He's playing great. He feels like a major leaguer. It seems like he's been there already. You don't get the sense when he's at the plate or in the field that he hasn't done this before. The other night, on a fly ball to right center field, he was going for the ball. Giancarlo Stanton was going for the ball. And the center fielder should call off the right fielder. And Dominguez was playing center field, and he called off Giancarlo Stanton. Now, I just want you to think about this in your own line of work or in your own business, even if you are put in a position of authority, the center fielder. If there's a veteran, a superstar, one of the giants of the current game, even if he hasn't done well the last couple of years, the guy is still a giant in the game, an MVP winner. And that person is also going for a situation that you're going for, maybe taking the lead in a meeting or driving the guest to and from the hotel or something, a guest speaker or something, anything. The person who gets the boss the coffee, and that's the person who's always done it. And now it seems to be your job, but you're the young guy. You're brand new at it. You've only been at it a week or so. Oftentimes in that situation, you defer to the veteran. You defer to the legend. You defer to the guy who's a superstar. Yet Dominguez didn't do that. He called off Stanton and he made the catch. It was the right thing, but it showed poise. It showed confidence. It showed something that you'll never see in a box score, but that matters a great deal. So there's a lot of hope. Clark Schmidt pitched the other night, pitched a great game. He's now pitched into the seventh inning a couple of times. He was a 5 and fly guy for most of the year. He's one of the Yankee core young pitchers, and he seems to have held his own this year. Now, I am concerned that his innings are getting up there. I still don't believe the Yankees have a chance to sneak into the wild card, and I don't believe it's something they should be pursuing at any rate. They should just let those kids play and see what happens. And if by chance they keep winning and they find themselves in the wild card race, well, then that's just great. But the Yankees shouldn't be playing for that wild card race. They're too far out, and it hasn't been a great season. We know that. And so I am worried that the Yankees should probably think about shutting Clark Schmidt down now. Once you reach a certain amount of innings, he's proven he can do it. There is the I can't think of the exact law. It's law of I learned it in economics 40 years ago. Diminishing returns. I knew it would come to me. The law of diminishing returns means that for a period of time, as we acquire more of something, everything gets better. But then it peaks, and then the law of diminishing returns means the more of it, the worse off we are. It goes on a downhill trajectory. I always like to think of M&Ms with my examples of the law of diminishing returns. You eat a few M&Ms, you eat a few more, you eat a few more. But at least for me, there comes a point when the M&Ms don't taste good anymore. And for each M&M you eat, you actually feel worse. Fast food can be like that. Maybe a hamburger at McDonald's every now and again can be delicious. After a while, not so much. Soda. I'm a big fan of cola. I like Pepsi. I like Coca-Cola. I like RC. I like the non-brand name colas, whatever it might be. As for RC, it was sold in a store I was at a couple months ago. I saw it on the shelves. I'm like, RC, I remember that from my childhood. So I bought some. It was delicious. I love cola, but I shouldn't drink too much of it. But every now and again, you go to a restaurant or something and you get a glass of Coca-Cola, or you go to a McDonald's or something. And my brain is still in the olden days, right? Where the mediums today are the larges of yesteryear. And so you might be really thirsty and you might say, oh my goodness, I want a large. Like after one of my baseball games, like I'm all hot and sweaty, been pitching for hours. And then, the thing I really would like right now is a nice cold Coca-Cola. And you drive through Burger King or whatever on your way home and you say, yeah, I'll take a large. And then they give you this monstrosity of a cup, right? It doesn't even fit in your car. These are the largest nowadays. There's the law of diminishing returns. You drink that soda and you just feel miserable. It's like, oh my goodness. The first sips were great. The first amount was great, and then it's not so great anymore. And I think Clark Schmidt is really hitting upon that law of diminishing returns. We know what he can do, but at some point, all the extra innings aren't going to service him well. And it's probably time to shut him down. But there's so many guys who have done so well since coming up to the major leagues that it's really inspiring and hopeful. And I hope they keep playing well. And I hope that Dominguez is the center fielder. I hope he proves he can be the center fielder next year. I hope Clark Schmidt proves he can be a starter in the rotation. I hope Anthony Volpe has proven he should be the shortstop next year. I wish the Yankees had left him alone. I'm not changing my stance on anything. They should have batted him ninth all year. They shouldn't have moved him all over the batting order. I think they messed him up for months. But he's come around. He's now like the aged veteran of all these young kids, right? And the Yankees might be a little further along than we thought they were a couple weeks ago before they brought up these kids, because I think they're starting to answer some questions. But here's my worry. This wasn't the plan. The plan wasn't to call up the kids and have the kids do great. This was sort of like the fallback from the fallback from the fallback plan. Desperation. There's nothing else to do. We're terrible. We're miring in the muck. It's a lost season. Let's bring up the kids. And then all of a sudden they do that and they start winning. But that does not mean that this was part of the plan, part of the design. And I do have this worry that if the Yankees continue to play well in September, that somehow that will be an affirmation of the job that Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone have done, and their coaches and the analytic team and the front office. And it's not. Sometimes we do the wrong thing and good things happen. Sometimes the pitcher throws a pitch where he shouldn't throw it and the batter just misses. Sometimes you hit a terrible ball and it falls for a hit, might even fall for a double. Maybe it rolls into the corner and you get a triple. Maybe it becomes the game winner. Sometimes your batter strikes out, Tommy Henrik, and the catcher drops the third strike, and then you win the game because your team goes on a big rally after that, like in 1941 when Mickey Owens dropped the third strike in the World Series. A famous play that's been forgotten about nowadays, but that wasn't by any good fortune or good work by the Yankees that got lucky. Sometimes the wrong thing happens and good things can come from it. And that's my worry with the Yankees. This wasn't by design. It doesn't say that Brian Cashman did a good job this year. It doesn't say that Aaron Boone did a good job this year. I once coached a soccer game. I think I've told this story before. I coached soccer for many, many years, probably 16 years, numerous teams, sometimes numerous teams in the same year. I coached my kids as they grew up and went through their recreation programs. I coached them in basketball and soccer and baseball. I was very involved when my kids were growing up. I loved being a coach. I loved being with them. I loved leading the kids and trying to inspire the teams. We cared less about winning and more about learning the game and being good sports and having fun. And I think we did. But one year, the recreation department head reached out to me right before our opening game and said, I have a player. You're the guy with the fewest amount of kids. We're giving you, or it's your turn next or whatever, to get the next player who registers. So he's coming on your team. Never met him before. He shows up at the field. We said, what position do you like? He said, center forward. We said, all right, go give it a shot. And we sent him out there. Within seconds, dribbles right down the field, avoids everybody else, and scores a goal. I turned to the assistant coach and I said, that's because of our coaching that he's that good. Had nothing to do with us, of course. He was that good. The Yankees winning, Jason Dominguez hitting home runs, and all of this has nothing to do with the job Aaron Boone is doing as the Yankee manager. He just happens to be right now at the right place at the right time. he shouldn't get credit for this because it has nothing to do with him. Just like I shouldn't get any credit for that soccer player who scored the goal. I had nothing to do with it. I just wrote his name down because that's where he said he plays. I'm worried that a great September will affirm the jobs that Cashman and Boone did. And I think the Yankees at this point need to move on from Cashman and Boone. There have been a lot of mistakes. Kenyon Middleton was just put on the injured reserve. And I'm just thinking of Scott Efros, Frankie Montas, Carlos Rodon, Lou Trevino, Tommy Canely. I'm sure there's others. Now Middleton. These are all guys who Brian Cashman has acquired over the last year or so. And every one of them, all pitchers, ended up on the injured list. Some we haven't seen since they got on the list. Some we barely saw at all. That's a problem. That's not good acquiring. That's not good general managing. It's a problem with the medical staff, or it's a problem with the way they're looking at the medicals for the players before they acquire them, or it's a problem with the way the Yankees are using these guys. But I think it's virtually every single pitcher they acquire soon ends up on the injured list. That's a problem. That should not be rewarded. On top of which, like Anthony Rizzo, the reports are he's not playing the rest of the year. So here's a guy, he has a traumatic head injury. The Yankees play him for 9 weeks. They finally realize that he has post-concussion syndrome or whatever, something having to do with the head injury. They sit him down, and he's so bad that he can't even get it back in the lineup for the rest of the year. I mean, that's malpractice on many levels. That should not be rewarded. And that falls right on the medical staff, right on the general manager, right on the manager who supposedly is a great communicator who doesn't see this coming, doesn't see that his player is struggling so much. It's not good. Jose Trevino has a bad wrist. The Yankees play him for half a year anyway, and then he goes on the disabled list or the injured list with a surgery that wipes out the rest of his year. How does that happen? Harrison Bader's acquired. He's injured. He misses the first month of the time he's there. Has a great postseason. Starts the next year with a couple of injuries. Misses a bunch of time. And never turns into the hitter that so many people thought he would be, getting away from St. Louis. The Yankees gave up a solid left-handed pitcher in Jordan Montgomery to get him. Monty, I don't believe, has spent any time on the injured list, unlike all the other pitchers the Yankees have brought in. Josh Donaldson was a disaster. The Yankees finally got rid of him. They DFA'd him so that the young kids could play. But again, that wasn't the plan. The plan was for Donaldson to lead the team as a solid third baseman in the twilight of his career. It didn't happen. There's too many bad moves for the Yankee, for Hal Steinbrenner, to say, you know what, Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone, you did such a good job that we're going to reward you and bring you back next year. No. They haven't done a good job. Let's quickly get to Old Timers Day. Here's some of the names of the guys I'm excited to see at Old Timers Day. Jesse Barfield was always a guy I liked watching play. I loved his rocket arm. Bucky Dent, of course, the big home run. Ron Guidry. El Duque, one of my favorites of all time, along with Guidry. He was my favorite pitcher when I was a kid. Of course, it's great that Derek Jeter's coming back. It's great that Hideki Matsui will be there. Matsui also one of my favorites because he's Ethan, my son Ethan's favorite player. Willie Randolph, classy Yankee. He should have gotten another chance to be a manager. The Yankees would do very well to hire him as a coach for next year. Mariano Rivera, great Yankee. I think you all know the story. Maybe I'll tell it again sometime. When I retired from teaching, being a principal, when retired from education last year, Darryl Strawberry surprised me by coming to my school to have a catch with me and to offer me congratulations. And then on my very last day, that was like in June or late May when he came to my school to honor me the year I was retiring. And then on my very last day, I worked through that whole summer until August. On the very last day, he FaceTimed me through a teacher who had his phone number, and she came into my office and said, "Hey, Darryl wants to wish you goodbye on your very, very, very last day." What a classy guy. Really a special, special human being. You know, sometimes you meet somebody and you just make a nice connection. I'm so glad that Daryl will be there. Of course, Roy White. Love Roy White. You know, I wrote the book with Roy White. I just got an email yesterday from someone who said, I can't believe how much I loved that book. Thank you so much for writing it. Roy White, always a classy person. Kinder, nicer, classier once I met him. Every single time I have an interaction with Roy White, it's affirming on what a great human being he is. Not just a great Yankee who deserves to be in Monument Park, but a great human being. So there's a lot of great Yankees who are going to be there, but why won't Greg Nettles be there? When was the last time you saw Greg Nettles at Old Timers Day? How can you have Old Timers Day without Greg Nettles or Reggie Jackson or Sparky Lyle or Goose Gossage or Dave Righetti or Tommy John or Dave Winfield or Don Mattingly or Mike Pagliarulo? I have a list here. If you go to Baseball Almanac, there's a list of the oldest living baseball players. Art Sherlock was a Yankee. He's one of the oldest living Yankees, oldest living players. He is the oldest living player. He's 99 years old. You know, he should be at Old Timers Day. Now, maybe he can't be there because he's too old. I don't know the medical condition he's in, but the Yankees have the resources. They should go to his house. They should at least take a still photograph or find one from recent years and say, on Old Timers Day, we still want to recognize Art Sherlock. There's other great Yankees. Bobby Shantz is the fourth oldest guy. He's a former Yankee. You just go down the list, and I'm probably going to miss somebody, but Billy Gardner is the 10th oldest player. Billy Hunter is the 16th oldest player. On and on. I saw a bunch of names. I hate reading off the internet while I do the show because it just becomes hard. But Bud Daly, he was on the 61 Yankee team. He's 90. I believe Rocky Colavito. Yeah, here's his name. Rocky Colavito is also 90. He's the 76th oldest player of all time. Bill White, who announced Yankee games for 1,000 years, is 89. He should be there. There's so many great players who get forgotten about. This has always been my problem with Monument Park. If you honor Paul O'Neill, and maybe he deserves it, that puts in people's minds that he was one of the great Yankee outfielders of all time. And maybe he was, but he wasn't better than Roy White. He wasn't better than Hank Bauer. I'm not sure he was better than Tommy Henrik or Charlie Keller or Bob Musial. And none of those guys are in Monument Park. How can that be? In the common fan's eyes, it's like, oh, he's one of the greats. I'm going to remember him. And then you don't remember the other greats who should be remembered. And there's so many guys that the Yankees could recognize at Old Timers Day, even if they can't be there. Again, go to their house, get a video, have them say hi. Or if they're not able to do that, again, take a still photograph or put up their old baseball cards or an old photograph from when they played to say these Yankees also deserve to be remembered and recognized here at Old Timers Day. No one, I don't know, the Yankees, have they ever announced how they pick the guys? Or is it just some front office executive who makes the decision? I'm going to invite this guy. I'm not going to invite that guy. Why is it that some players who've passed on, their wives are welcomed back, but other players who've passed on, their wives aren't welcomed back? There's a lot of questions, and these are the kind of things that upset fans. Why can't I see Greg Nettles, who, there he is, right over my shoulder, right here, was my favorite player growing up? Why can't I see him at Yankee Stadium? Who's making that decision and why? These are the things that upset fans. And if you want to know why fans are not happy with the Yankees, it's decisions like this that just seem arbitrary. So, of course, I'm excited about Old Timers Day. I'm not all that excited that they're not playing a game. They should be playing a game. That's part of the fun. the Yankees have to bring back the old timers game. Just having the players announced, and I think they're going to do some interviews, it's not the same. One year I went to spring training, I think it was 2004, and Don Mattingly was a coach, and I was sitting with my kids who were all little. And the greatest thrill of that whole time that I went to spring training was I watched Don Mattingly having a catch. Because Don Mattingly had his own unique way of catching the ball and throwing it, and it brought me right back 10 years to when I was watching Don Mattingly as a player. And even if they're not quite the players, of course, that they were when they played, to watch them at least simulate what they used to be on the field, you can still see pieces of that magic, of the things that made them special and unique. And when you don't play the game, that's lost. And like so much, it's lost forever. So hopefully the Yankees rectify that in 2024. All right, another half hour over. I can't believe it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again Monday night on the Start Spreading the News show with me and EJ Fagan. I'm sure we'll have lots and lots and lots to talk about. Have a great day.